Today I'm driving the 2019 Mini Cooper Hardtop. This is a student edition. It's called the Oxford edition, and you get a student credit of $5,650 if you're enrolled in college or just graduated from college, or if your parents sign on the car and you're a college student. It's a very classic looking Mini with the 17-inch Cosmos silver wheels, chili red, and it has a carbon black interior. It's also fitted with a 6-speed manual transmission and Mini's 1.5-liter turbo 3-cylinder engine. That makes 134 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque. It's pretty bare bones in here, but in a charming way. We have cruise control, AM/FM radio, Bluetooth connectivity, 8 airbags, a reverse camera, and automatic headlights and rain-sensing windshield wipers. There's even a center armrest that gets in the way of the handbrake. This Mini comes with a 12-year unlimited mileage rust perforation warranty, 4-year 50,000-mile limited warranty, and a 4-year unlimited mileage roadside assistance program. This Mini achieves 28 mpg in the city, 38 on the highway, making for a 32 mile per gallon combined rating. Mini will also give you complimentary maintenance for the first 3 years or 36,000 miles. I love how old school this Mini looks in this spec. Red, white roof, white mirror caps, the silver classic wheels, and it's in a manual transmission. Let's take this for a drive, get it on the road, and see how this thing is like to live with. These are some of my first impressions. I just got this yesterday in the press fleet. Push button start. For $20,000, this is actually a really well-equipped car. In some respects, and in other respects, it's very basic and pure, and just a nice throwback driving experience. It's been a while since I've driven a Mini with a manual transmission. It brings back good memories of the Mini Cooper S Coupe we had as a long-term car at Winding Road a few years ago. That was a 2012 Hardtop Coupe. You know, the one that looks like it has its hat put on backwards. This isn't the Cooper S, so it's not as quick. But this turbocharged 3-cylinder still gets around just fine. It actually kind of sounds like a baby V6. We have really tall gearing, almost 70 miles an hour in second. A couple weeks ago we had the Mini Clubman with its barn rear doors and 4 seats, 4 doors. This is a significantly smaller, shorter wheelbase package. The ride's a little bit stiffer, a little bit harsher, but you get a little bit more of a direct, enjoyable driving experience as a result. I do like this manual transmission. It was interesting kind of comparing these two transmissions back to back, this versus the DCT. It pairs really quite well with this 3-cylinder, and of course it offers auto rev matching. For those younger manual transmission drivers, it's an easy transmission to shift. It's nice to learn on. This would be a pretty enjoyable first manual to row through the gears on. Nimble and playful as always. There's an enjoyable Miata-esque slow car fast thing going on here. It really rewards you when you ring it out, and you do need to rev this thing, especially with the tall gearing. You do get a little bit more torque than you would with a naturally aspirated motor with this 3-cylinder turbo. Let's do a little brake test here while we're a straight section of road. I feel Feeling a little bit limited by the tires, but while we're at it, a little 0 to 60 never hurt anyone. Yeah, second is at 70 miles an hour, just shy of. That is my only complaint about this car's transmission, is that it's just geared a little bit too tall. But the gain from that is you do get nice fuel economy, 35 miles to the gallon, and I haven't been treating this thing nicely in the day and a half that I've had it. Turn traction control back on. Very simple cruise control system, easy to adjust. Hard press past the first click and you get 5 mile an hour increments. Single presses and you get 1 mile an hour increments. Wind noise at speed is surprisingly good. Closing these sunroofs don't really give you much more noise isolation. There's a little bit of tire noise, but overall it's pretty good. The ride quality is decent. The only time it really starts to get stiff is when you hit larger bumps and larger undulations. They can really they'll hit the bump stops and you'll really feel it. But most of the time, this Mini rides pretty well. Primary ride is pretty nice. Even in 6th gear, you get a little bit of passing power. Luckily, it's easy to rev match, throw it into 4th or 3rd. And if you're going slow enough, 2nd gear will work too. Cruise control works nicely irrespective of what gear you're in, so you can just kind of clutch in, change your gear. It'll maintain that cruise control speed, which is always fun. We have really nice ergonomics. This screen is very attractively laid out. There isn't a lot of information in here to be accessed, but if you need to connect your phone, play some music, Bluetooth, check on things like your tire pressures, stuff like that, vehicle settings, things like that, you can do that. You also get some cool graphics here where it shows you what you're setting your climate control to. Just neat little animations in this LED cluster here. I have a great driving position. It's pretty comfortable on the highway. This is definitely a nice, livable daily car. It really shines the most in the city, but this isn't too bad on the highway either. I do really like these panoramic sunroofs. Gives this cabin a really nice, open, airy feel. I have pretty good visibility from the sides and from the front. Even in the back, I can see pretty clearly out the window. One complaint I had with the Clubman was that with the split doors, you couldn't see what was directly behind you. And there was just a little bit of a blind spot there. We've got an entrance ramp coming up here. Let's see what this thing can do. You know what? We'll leave everything on to see how intrusive the system is. Down into 3rd here because we can. The rev matching in this car does work quite well. It's very consistent. It's a little bit lazy and sluggish, but overall not too bad. Feeling stability control kick in pretty early there, but there's a good amount of rotation. But this base Mini can still dance, and I think if you turned everything off, you could have some fun in this car. There's everything inactive. And it looks like it maybe also disables auto rev matching. So if you turn your dynamic stability control off, you're going to get the Mini unfiltered experience. That's kind of nice. I like that. I was wondering the easiest way to turn off rev matching. And that seems like it's it. It's a quiet driving experience in here. There's a little bit of wind noise. The engine is very, very silent, which does make everything else kind of seem a little bit louder than it really is, but overall, the NVH in this Mini is quite good. Of course, this being such a lightweight car, the brakes work really well. There isn't a lot of power here, but it's ample. So far, I've really enjoyed this car. It's fun. It's cool. It's got personality. It's a little bit more involving, I think, than the Clubman was. The steering feels a little bit more direct, a little bit more connected to the driver. There's a little bit of rev hang, and the engine is a little bit lazy to rev up sometimes, but yeah, we're getting a little bit of rotation here. These are the best little chassis. They're such fun cars to drive and to hustle around. There isn't really a front-wheel drive car like this on the market anymore. The Fiesta ST is no more. And for this price, I'm not sure there's much this fun to drive in the front-wheel drive compact car segment. A lot of cars these days are a little bit more planted, a little bit more understeery. This makes you work a little bit for the fun, and I appreciate that. One of the reasons that I've always really enjoyed my BRZ is that it feels like a brand new car from 10-15 years ago. And I get a little bit of that here in the sense that there's not a lot of technology getting in my way and diluting the driving experience. The brake pedal, gas pedal aren't set up the best for heel toe downshifting, but I imagine most people aren't going to be running their Minis with the stability control turned off, and rev matching does work quite well. This shifter is pretty satisfying too. Again, with a car like this, your expectations going in aren't that high. And as a result, I think it tends to charm you a little bit easier. Definitely feel a difference in wheelbase between this and the Clubman. And of course the four-door would have a little bit different ride quality as well. But I remember how rough these cars used to be, especially on run-flat tires. It's no longer the case. One strange thing is when you pull the handbrake up, this armrest completely gets in the way. You can see there where it's been sliding. So you're welcome to just leave that armrest up, but sometimes it gets in the way. So there's a little bit of a conundrum here, but it's one of those things that you just kind of live with and deal with, and adds to the Britishness of this car, I think. Before we wrap things up, let's do a quick back seat test here. See how tight this is. You have decent headroom, so that's good. Otherwise, though, it's a little bit tight back here. There's the rear window. There's you. But in a pinch, could throw some college friends in the back. Don't know how they'd feel about you afterwards, but that's okay. All right, guys. Well, that'll wrap it up for this first impressions video on the Mini. So far, so good. I saw this thing and knew immediately that I was going to like it, and I'm glad that the driving experience has lived up to my expectations and hopes. Stay tuned later this week. May do some more stuff on this car for the TheTopher, and of course Charlie will be filming some POV test drives and a POV night drive for this on Winding Road. Once those are up, be sure to check them out. Let me know if you have any questions on this in the comments. And until then, we'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.